do a wee chat about why I think there's such a disconnect between what's accepted as proof from the Flat Earth community and what's accepted as proof from the people who claim it's a globe. I think there's such a disconnect because we're coming from a different way of thinking. I think people that are claiming it's a globe are having a very much a collective thought process. They believe the collective thoughts and ideas and proofs presented, that is their proof. It is on a collective basis because they're of that mindset. So they take what's collectively been presented by, and they believe it's been by everybody, individuals building on that information, and that it's factual. And they think it's irrational for people to question that, question everything and everybody. So you can see why, if you've got that sort of mindset, that collective mindset, it might seem irrational or unlogical to question the validity of the shape that you're on. But if you're coming from an individual mindset, you're very much thinking not as a collective and as what can be verified for yourself on an individual level to ascertain what's right and wrong and what's true and false. So it's a different starting point of thinking. You're thinking from an individual standpoint and you're not actually collectively appealing to that, the collective, what's been proposed throughout the generations and what's being claimed. You're not appealing to that at all, so you're only relying on your own, what you can discern for yourself and you can ascertain for yourself. So I think that's why people who question the narrative see such a disconnect between people that claim it's a globe. They see a disconnect in the proofs because they can't imagine how that is validated as proof, and how you can assert something for yourself as proof when you're not doing it from an individual point of view. And I'm like that myself. I'm of the logic that it would seem to me, logical to me, that I would ascertain for myself what's real and what's not. And the only way I can, using substance in this reality, there isn't another way I can verify anything for myself. So that's really, I just wanted to point out the different thinking processes and maybe different starting points that people are coming from that's making them feel like the other side's being irrational or illogical in their approach at ascertaining what is proof. So I wanted to mention that, and I also just wanted to point out some pros and cons about collectivism and about individualism. So I think collectivism, it has things that are a hindrance to you. So collective thinking groups are likely to avoid promoting their own points of view, and you can see why that would be the case. If you're in a collective way of thinking and you're appealing to that as one of your proofs, the collective, you wouldn't want to rub against that, or you'd be scared if your thought wasn't in line with their thought, and you wouldn't want to bring that up knowing that they're all of the same thought. It would hinder your likeliness of saying anything because you're of a collective mindset and you're very much, oh, I might be wrong, I could be wrong, they're more likely to be right because there's more of them sort of mindset. And that's not very good to have that mindset because majority of people can be wrong. So there's that as a negative towards collective thought and group thinking. So, and there's also the hindrance to individual personal growth and achievements. I would say that's true as well because you're very much, you're not getting that opportunity to think individually and to have self-growth and improve on yourself personally. So I think that's a fair point. These are my points of view, obviously, and if anyone disagrees, by all means let me know, but I'm just using my logic and my reasoning to explain what I think and why I think it. So individual thought has some good things about it, so let's talk about that. Logical or creative, increased productivity and efficiency, and a greater level of self-awareness. I think that's self-explanatory really. It's obviously thinking individually, you're going to be more logical and you're going to be more creative on an individual basis. You're not going to be having to share your creativity or allow other people to be have the main ideas. You're very much, it's down to you to come up with what you think. So there's that. You're more logical, you're more creative, you've got more increased productivity and efficiency, and a greater level of self-awareness. Also, being individually thinking encourages positive self-esteem and expression. It also encourages you to be more discerning about things you hear. And I'll just finish with a statement that independent thinking can only be developed as a result of exploring the structure that has been put into place to expand freedom of thought. So, yeah, that was my point really on why I think there's such a disconnect between the two groups of people. Just a different way of starting from your thinking process really. And I can see, I'm not convinced that the people on that claim it to be a globe are knowing that it's not and perpetuating that anyway. I do think there's a bit of collective thought going on, and that's hindering their individual thought process. So that was it. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.